Welcome back. Today I'd like to share with you how to plan for a breakout session in your workshops. Breakouts are one of the most powerful tools that you can use to get a lot of conversation going simultaneously. For instance, in a strategic planning session, we may have 4 strategic focus areas. A breakout focused on each one of those focus areas can be a very effective way to generate a lot of content in a short period of time. That said, there are 5 steps that you need to do to ensure that the breakout sessions that you design and facilitate are the most effective that they can be. The first step is to provide clear directions on the purpose and the product of the breakout. The second is to share an example with the entire room and make sure that they clearly understand what they're being asked to do. The third thing you need to do is provide adequate time for the breakout itself. Usually, teams need a few minutes to get involved in the conversation, and depending on the topic, may need more or less time to actually generate the responses. The fourth thing you'll need to consider as you plan a breakout is to make sure that you provide adequate time for each of the teams to read out to the rest of the room. And then the fifth thing I want you to make sure you plan is for time for the entire room to discuss the individual team responses. Often when I hear pushback around breakouts, it's because people feel like they want to be involved in the entire discussion and they don't want to miss anything. So by ensuring that you've got adequate time for the readouts and a full team discussion, you can mitigate that concern pretty effectively. Now that said, I also want to make sure that as you launch breakouts, you do a couple things as a facilitator to make sure that when those breakouts are done, you've gotten the input that you need. The first is ensure that the teams are engaged. Usually what I'll do is I'll make 2 or 3 walks about the breakout rooms just to make sure that people are engaged. If they have any questions, we can answer them, and that they're beginning to discuss the topic at hand. Then the second thing I do is I make sure that as they generate the output, that it is what we had intended it to be. Sometimes I have found when I have done a poor job with directions, sometimes inputs here, other times inputs here, or they're just not aligned. As a facilitator, it's much better to catch this on the front end than the back end. And if you find that there are any issues at all, it can often be helpful to just call a quick timeout and to recalibrate the room. Because after all, if folks in the breakout sessions are not creating the output that was intended, it's usually not their fault, it's usually ours. So as you begin to think about using breakouts as a facilitation technique, realize it's powerful, but it also requires a fair amount of planning and prep. Do those things, do them well, and you'll find that this is a very powerful tool. Thank you.